Let's learn functions in Python. Unlike other programming languages, Python functions are peculiar and quite different. And so when it comes to function, why function is used, you can see here function definition and function call. Why function is used? Function is a reusable code block. Function is it. And you can define a function once and call it anytime you want. And bunch of statements that you want them to be based on bunch of statements that are logically related or functionally related can be grouped and named and make them as a function, and you can call that function anytime you want. Just like for suppose you are, let's say we discussed this about speed. You want to calculate a acceleration, or you want to calculate a momentum. So in such a case, distance or speed uh, plays some important role. So instead of calculating that every time, so you can have a function to calculate speed and call that anytime you want, you know, uh, other expressions or other places. So you don't have to rewrite the whole logic every time. Write once, which means define once, define function once and call it. So as you can see here, the typical syntax to define a function in Python is that by using the keyword diff, and this is a function name, right? Let's see this anatomy of function. So what do you see here? And you see there parameters. Okay, so what are parameters? What are arguments? Parameters are those that you define inside that you put inside the function definition. They are like variables. So parameters are the means by which we take the input, and arguments we pass arguments as an input in a function call. Okay, and what is the important thing here is a return statement. Okay, so function is something, block of reusable code block. So when you functions do take an input and produce output, the output function, the output that function produces, okay, can be returned by using a return statement. Which can you see here? A and b are input we are taking, and a plus b, which is a sum, and calculated, computed, and returning that. Okay. 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 So as you can see here, the function is a reusable code block, sorry, which can take a single or multiple inputs and could produce a output. The output, we here in Python output, we return that output using a return statement to the caller. And let's see the anatomy of function here, which is a diff keyword, which is used to define a function, and name of the function, which is here, which is speed in this case, and return statement, which is used to return a value to the caller. Okay, such that that value can be captured and reused, used later. And these are the arguments, which are inputs, and this is the return value. Okay, and when it comes to there are functions take these are called arguments. That is clear, right? Parameters, these are parameters that we define inside a function definition, that are used in a function definition inside parentheses, that are parameters, and same things that we pass and pass to the function with a function call are called arguments. There are two types of arguments: actual and formal arguments. The arguments that we define here in a function definition are called formal arguments. Arguments that are passed with a function call are called actual arguments. And function call So for a to call a function, simply we use that function name and pass the arguments. Okay. And there are different types of arguments Python takes. Regular positional, these are those different types of arguments that Python supports are regular positional arguments, default arguments, keyword arguments, variable length position arguments, position only arguments, keyword only arguments, and variable length keyword arguments. Oh, so many types of different arguments Python functions can take. So what is positional arguments? Okay, so let's create a new file, funcargs. Okay, and this is common positional arguments. Okay, speed, calculate the speed, define speed, and distance, time, is equal to distance by time. Okay, return s. So these two are positional arguments. Why? Because when we call this thing, okay, positional arguments, when we call that thing speed, x equal to speed, okay, 150 by 2. Okay, and these are keyword arguments. What are keyword arguments? When calling a function, okay, so these are positional. If I take a z equal to speed 2 comma 150, okay, let's print here, print, okay, we can use speed, sorry, distance, take distance, and tag. Okay. So it doesn't change anything here. Okay, so since these are passed by position, okay, 150 becomes here a distance, 2 is time, but here in this case 2 is a distance. Do you understand? 150 is time because these arguments are consumed by the position, they are passed, but you want to pass them out of the order. What you can do, you can use keyword arguments. Those keyword arguments, in such a case, you can use distance, sorry, time equal to 2, distance, you can give 250. Okay, do you understand? So keyword arguments, there are some rules for keyword arguments. Those rules are you have to pass positional arguments first and then followed by positional arguments. You can pass keyword arguments. Otherwise, you can, if you pass after positional arguments, if there are multiple arguments, okay, let's say function is taking speed. Let's define a function speed x comma y comma z. Okay, if you pass, if you call this, you give z equal to 9 and then you give some 10 or okay, 25. So see, we got ID showing already error, positional arguments after keyword arguments. Why? Because okay, you are passing keyword argument z equal to 9, but you don't know, Python is confused how to take this order. Okay, why? Because if 50 should be taken as x and y, or y and x, or if I give, this is even complicated if I give y here. Do you understand? So that is the reason one rule is there, you can't pass keyword arguments prior the positional arguments. Okay, and we have here, that is keyword arguments. What are default arguments? Default arguments are those that are in the function definition. These can also be called as default parameters. Okay, so these default arguments are where, you know, if this argument, if you define a default in a function definition, if this argument would be optional, if this is not passed, default will be consumed. Okay, okay, so let's say you can take a default, this becomes a default argument. Okay, if you give here 2. Okay, so if I don't pass, okay, let's have Python console here. Speed, define speed. A comma B comma. Just don't worry. Taking this. Okay. Speed. If I don't pass 2 value, if I pass 2 only, you will get an error. Okay. But if I define one default, again, you know, there is a rule for this. You can't define default arguments. You can't have non-defaults after default arguments. Okay, so these are some rules, syntax rules where you have to follow. Okay, so if I can define this here. See, I can make a some default. So in such a case, yeah, now I can give, and the C becomes a default value. Okay, since I haven't passed the star value. That is, those are the default arguments. What is keyword arguments we have seen? What is variable length argument? Variable length positional arguments. I'll explain. Let's run this one. Okay, so everything is fine, right? Now let's do variable length positional arguments. Let's create a one function to demonstrate variable length position arguments. Let's demonstrate one function. Okay, let me create a new file, var_args. Okay, I'm creating a function called define sum. Okay, or there is a built-in function sum. I'm calling it my sum. Okay, a comma b. Okay, so return a plus b. Pretty good. Okay, take x, print, yeah, print sum. Okay, right. Let's create another. I want to calculate 3 values, sum for 3 values. Let's add another argument. 5. Yeah, return a plus b plus c. Okay, let's do, I want to calculate another one. Okay, if I don't pass that one, I'll get error here. Okay, missing D. Do you understand? Let's say I want to pass 26 arguments. You will be done with alphabets here. Okay, and then you have to do caps A. Okay, after 52 arguments, and you are done with alphabets. Okay, so that is complicated, right? Unnecessarily complicated. For that reason, we use something called a variable length positional arguments feature. Okay, you can use this star. You can use a star here to represent which is a variable length positional argument. So this will consume whatever comes extra. Okay, whatever you you have defined here a, b, those are consumed first, and whatever is leftover will be taken into the extra variables here, args. Okay, which numbers? Yeah, let's see this one. Print, okay, a, b, and args. Okay, now we are not calculating anything. Now check this one. Sum is none. Why sum is none? We haven't returned anything. Do you understand? If you in a function, if you don't return anything by default, it returns none. Okay, that is the reason x is none here. Okay, now what is happened here? What, so now pass another thing, 15. Okay, so and that 15 is consumed here. Okay, take 29. See here. Okay, now calculate this thing. You have a sum, return. Okay, and there is a sum function. Okay, okay, and I can a comma b comma args. Okay, this is again another syntax to unpack. Okay, so the syntax, let me show you that here. Okay, this is called packing unpacking. Okay, a comma b, if you take, you have a list here. Okay, 2 comma 5, you have unpacked them. Okay, so if I have a list, another list, let's say x equal to 2 comma 5, I have another list. Okay, take another list, l equal to, okay, okay, and take x equal to, okay, a comma b and star l. What happened? You see this one? Okay, so we have expanded, unpacked, and those are all these values are here as a elements. Okay, okay, so same thing here I used. Okay, this is whole list. Python sum function takes a iterator or a, a sequence data structure, and so calculated all sum for all elements and return that. So that is the reason we got a proper result here, 81. Okay, so this is variable length positional arguments, and you see this one, how this is helpful. Okay, so there is another quite exciting feature, which is variable length keyword arguments. So where you can pass those extra keyword arguments, and those are available as a list here. Okay, so can you see here, these are available as a tuple. Can you see here, these args, it is a tuple. Okay, I can put a variable length keyword args, star we use keyword args for that, and okay, keywords. Okay, now if I execute this one, that would be empty dictionary because I haven't passed any extra keyword arguments that is not defined. Now if I pass anything that is not defined, any keyword arguments that are not defined, okay, name, okay, rules, I'll run this one. Can you see here those keyword arguments here available as a dictionary? Okay, so that is quite nice feature. Okay, so which means that you can inside functions you can consume anything that is not defined by using keywords and variable length keyword arguments. Sorry, by using variable length position arguments and variable length keyword arguments. And there is a new feature, positional only arguments and keyword only arguments. That thing I'll explain you in the coming session. Okay. So which is this is quite, this is nothing but forcing function to accept position only arguments. The syntax was introduced in Python 3.8.